Okay, Ruby, maybe we can start with you giving us a brief introduction about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Ruby van der Wekken, and I live in Finland, in our capital Helsinki. I'm Dutch, I have an Indian mother, and so now I have been close to 20 years living in Finland, so that's home. As an activist, the World Social Forum process has been very important for me the first 10 years. After that, learning from the Global South basically has continued when I've been working for an environmental foundation in Finland, engaged in Finnish development cooperation, and I've had the pleasure of working with partners, among other in Latin America and in Mali, and also in India and Nepal. And then on the local level, on the last 10 years then has brought me closer to a few solidarity economy initiatives, like our Timebank in Helsinki, and then now our food cooperative, and the notion of solidarity economy, and through this furthering of our commons and commoning is what inspires me today to act.
So tell us more about the Timebank to start with, and then we'll get to the other initiatives.
Yes, so our Timebank, we started close to 10 years ago, a spontaneous process. And a Timebank is when people are exchanging services, mainly services, against time. And the idea is, the fundamental premise is that everybody's time, everybody's work, everybody's need is of equal worth. And so that fundamentally, of course, makes it different from how things are on the market. On the market, normally our time is exactly not of equal worth, which makes it so that there are so unequal relations. And so in a time bank, this is all equal. And we are registered on the Community Exchange Systems platform. It is an online platform, so it means that when I join the Timebank, I have an account online, and through that I can see what kind of help other people need and respond to that, or then I put out there the things that I would be needing, the help that I need. And so people can basically operate, and so exchange is not money, but time credits. Actually, it's more accounting. It's a bit silly to say that we are exchanging time, but of course that's the way we talk about it. It's kind of accounting of what happens between people. So we have a time credit, so when I've done something for you, I would be getting 1 time credit per hour, and our time credit is called the tovi. And so the exchange happens. And besides that, we've had a good development process. Important also for a Timebank is the development process with the members. So we have an open core group to which members can join. We prepare the things that are ahead of us, and then we always take the bigger decisions with the whole community. And that's how we have operated for some years now. That's the basic premise. And to put it a bit in a bigger context, it's part of a growing movement, I think we can say, of people that understand we want to work on another economy, we really need other forms of money. And then you can do it in different ways. You can look at our banks, that we shouldn't have our private banks, but we need to be, again, publicly issuing money. That's one level, and for sure we need that. But what we are then doing is the notion of, on a local level, currency as a commons, basically, that we take away money from being a commodity, something that you have to stock and guard and keep for rainy days, to be a currency as a commons. Our Timebank is, if you like, a credit commons, where we jointly discuss how do we govern it, what are our rules, what are our principles, and if somebody has difficulties to work in the Timebank because perhaps simply there's a time to give, there's a time for need, then we collectively also can be helping this person to go from minus to zero again, and things like that. So it's a very collective way of dealing with money. And
how many members do you have in the Timebank?
So, there are a lot of people registered, more than 3,000. But by far...
All in Helsinki?
In Helsinki. So, in this time, these 10 years, so the first years, about 40 other Timebanks were set up also in Finland. They are interconnectable through the system, the online system, but most of them didn't get to. You need a process then to drive it forward. But there was a big interest But so when I say more than 3,000 people registered, let's say that perhaps a third has once or ever done an exchange, which means that we have now a bit more than 30,000 hours exchanged. But so the issue, what happened with us, and that was then in 2013, was that we ran into taxation regulations. And although we have had our own process with regards to taxation, because of course in Finland, welfare state, one wants to talk about taxation, one can see it as a positive thing if it means the pooling together for common good processes. So we developed the idea of a time tax, which basically in short means that when I receive my tovi, my time credit for the work that I've done, there'll be a little proportion of that credit which will be going to a solidarity economy actor in the time bank. So the tax is a way of building up solidarity economy. And then you could imagine that the public actor, for instance, a local daycare, could be joining the time bank, and so the whole principle of taxation could be extending to public actors. And in a way, what you're then saying or want to acknowledge is that we need the state to be providing basic needs of people. I think that we are agreeing quite a lot on that, but at the same time, something like a time tax can be a tool for people to be again more present in the places that they want to be, and to counter processes of privatization, which are kicking a lot of our services in Finland where we are. There's a lot of privatizing going on, a stronger push all the time, and it is not bringing us into better situations. So there would be a way to incorporate that more solidarity economy actors, so our cooperatives and our different ways of working could be again much more part of the public sphere through, for instance, these systems of a time tax.
And does the time tax meet the official regulations?
Well, this is our proposal,
Okay.
but we weren't able to have a political process around that. Instead, what happened was that taxation officials prepared guidelines for time banking in Finland, and they came out with that in 2013. We also had a discussion with them, but we weren't able to revert the picture. And so now the official guidelines are that if you receive a professional service in the time bank, a distinction we don't like to make, we don't want to make distinctions between work, but if you receive so-called professional work in the time bank, you would have to pay taxation on it according to market value, meaning as if it were in the market. It's of course ridiculous, one could say. The service is not on the market. But so this was happened, and this has confused the picture. This has been a deterrent for people to continue. This has been a disappointment. This has also prevented more organized actors as cooperatives to come on board. So we had a growing process, and then there came a clear slump downward. The time bank is still significant for a number of people. We still have people joining. But it is not anymore in the same volume. So it is clear that this issue of taxation has been a deterrent, but we still want to take on this process. And then, for instance, myself, I'm also enthused by other ideas that are now being developed, like for instance by an economist, Susana Belmonte in Barcelona, where they have a fantastic way of now starting up a local currency. They have a department for solidarity economy in the city. They have a platform of citizens that deliberates on issues, and under that platform there will now be coming a community currency. But so she has been developing the idea of a basic income partly funded by a time tax. So then the idea would be that when I receive my basic income in conventional currency, I would be having a debt, but that debt would not be any forced labor. It would be a debt in time, but not any forced labor. The idea would be that there would be a citizens process going on in which there would be deliberation on what are the common good, what commons projects in societies, in our society would like to see fulfilled. The belief is there's so much good work that is there, that should be done, that is not getting done because people are not having the time, not having the possibility. For instance, like in our country, a thing like community-supported agriculture. People would like to have more time to be engaged in these things, but are not having the time. So then there would be these projects identified, and then you could be responding which project, which process would I like to be involved with, and you would then there conduct your the time that you are required to do, and you would be getting then the complementary currency for your efforts. Let's say it would be time credits, and with that you would pay off that debt that you have, and then that currency would be going to the pool of commoners that are carrying out the common good project. So it means you have a basic income that kicks into life, a complementary currency for the commons, and I think it's a wonderful model that I'm hoping we could try a little pilot around it and try to find a way to do that. It's difficult at the moment to get things like real basic income going. Finland has had its preliminary pilots. It has basically, it was not the real thing, let's put it like that, and now the process is stopped. And instead we're having a lot of activation policies linked to unemployment, which is actually only trying to produce a workforce which will be taking on low-paid jobs at any cost. So very commodifying processes, as was also raised here in the conference. And so, but perhaps pilots try to do a little pilot in our own localities and pool resources for there could be a way to show these things.
In the time bank, I mean, apart from people getting and offering services, does it also help in other ways, like building more social relationships or something like that?
Definitely, yes. So if we think of it that money, currency, basically, that's what it does. It builds relations, and then the matter how the currency is designed or the values that it has, so the relations. So in our conventional system, it is clear that the way money is designed, it is creating a lot of relations of inequality and of a lot of competition. And with a time bank instead, it's a learning process for people. How is it when really all of our time and all of our skills, if they're really valued equally, you might have a bit of a disbelief, or you might have a fear that now I'm putting in my skills and can I really be getting in return what I need? So it's really a pedagogical tool also for people to see that, hey, we can operate in these terms. It's not the claim that the whole of society would work like this, but it's an interesting premise, and it creates more trust also between people when they can see that I can offer what I can do and I can be getting what I need. And we don't need to evaluate that differently for us. In fact, we can be actually calming down everything much more when you know that we can give and take according to our needs. So it's very much a pedagogical tool to come to those learning insights and to change our behaviors. And
Did the like when it was at its peak, did it also include the poorer sections of society, like all migrants or?
Well, it was spreading different parts of towns, but exactly also because of the kind of sensitive issues with regards to unemployment laws and difficulties that can arise if you are doing work, or when it's perceived that you are getting some sort of remunerations. There was also, it always kept away a lot of the people that could exactly be benefiting more from this. So this is a pity that in Finland, whilst this has been wonderful to show something, and we have been able to raise a progressive voice with the process, but at the same time we never really could get to the conditions to really have this matter also in a much more larger variety of people, basically. So it certainly did not yet reach, but that had to do with these issues related to taxation, for people not knowing what will happen, what could the consequences be.
So the macroeconomic and political situations are big stumbling blocks for...
Yes, absolutely. Ultimately, you can for a while just operate like that, but at a certain moment you need to get it cleared out. What is the place in society, and how does policy then meet you?
So Ruby, you've now moved on to a few other things. So what's your current passion?
Yes, so currently I'm happy learning to be a farmer. No, that's a big word. So we are having a food cooperative, and indeed I've stopped my desk work, so to speak, and now are daily going to our farm, which is some 30 kilometers away from Helsinki, and it is what is called a community-supported agriculture. So the idea that you form with the members of the cooperative, you form a web around the farmer, so to speak, of mutual support, in the sense that you will be committing to be paying for a certain amount of months, and in return the farmer can then have better conditions to be dealing with all kind of things that will come on the way, both the abundance as well as, for instance, we've had a very dry summer here in Europe, so all the consequences of that. So we have this food cooperative, it's called Omama, which means own land. And in these years we have now built up, we have of course our land, we have built up a greenhouse, and then we are using the infrastructure of a bigger kitchen nearby, and we have a cafe in town. And so what we do is we produce food bags. The idea is that we want to provide the comprehensive needs of a person. So it will be both ready-made food, like what we do is falafel and seitan and a certain kind of wheat, out of wheat made yogurt. That's normally one of the elements in the bag, and then there will be something from the greenhouse, the leaves, the greens, the tomatoes. We've been having beans, different kind of beans, alternative towards soya, really everything local, and then from the land, of course, the basic things that. So we try to make these kind of baskets, and those are once a week for people to come to pick up in town, or then you choose to have it every other week. So we're trying different ways to meet people to become committed. And it's a wonderful process of building around, let's call it food as a commons, food sovereignty, of course, and building up the co-op to be really a place also for different people to be also readdressing again, how do we want to work together, what it is we want to do, what we don't want to do, and practicing also direct democracy. I'm a little bit now starting to think that we in Finland, we haven't had mass mobilizations, like for instance in India, the fantastic power that there is of people who take their claims to the streets. We live in a different society, historically, the conditions, but still we need to practice a lot. Also, we have to make so much change in our societies. As here we're at the Degrowth Conference, our consumption levels, are so many patterns in our lives actually need to change. We need fundamental change, and so a food cooperative, food being such a basic in life, as our farmer says, he who controls the food production, this is the way to come to a more just society and a changed society. And so the practicing in our cooperative of direct democracy, it's not the going to the streets perhaps as we've had in countries like Spain, but it is direct in your localities, practicing of democracy, of changing of relations, of changing the way you see to basic needs. It's a fantastic learning process, and I'm enjoying this a lot.
That's great. Well, all the best for that, and hopefully I'll be able to come to your farm soon.
Oh yes, that I hope. That we wait for. We wait here.
Thank you, Ruby.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot.